Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are here with another update for my Panda palette. This here is a project that I have been doing for many years now. I love this project. It's actually one of my favorites. I think this has actually become my favorite product to watch and do, just because I think it's so satisfying to see a whole year of progress on a palette, and also satisfaction of completing shades. I know not everyone tried to complete shades, but that's what I do in this project. And this project, especially for this year, I have been working on for quite a long time. I worked on this one all of last year, and I wanted to continue it this year. And that is my Soft Glam palette, and that is like the main palette this year. But because I had already finished up 7 out of the shades in that palette, I thought I wanted to introduce something else to work alongside with my Soft Glam palette. So I decided to introduce a palette of singles, which is like a BYOP, which I also want to finish. I have a lot of singles in my collection, a lot of really beautiful shades, and I don't always let myself reach for those, which is a massive shame, and it's something that I'm trying to be very much better at this year. So I wanted to introduce that and actually give myself an excuse to reach for those shadows, and I do want to kind of use up some similar shades, and good for me, lucky for me, a lot of the shades in that palette is like top favorite shades for me, so it's been very fun to reach for. But yeah, I'm going to share with you where I sit with those 2 palettes today. But before I jump into the progress, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So we're going to start off with this palette, of course, which is the Soft Glam palette, which I mentioned first. This again I've been working on for, well, this is the second year I'm working on it exclusively as a Panda palette. So I am going to insert the footage of what this one looked like at the introduction. As you can see, I had already finished up quite a few shades, but a lot of the ones that are still left in here were darker shades, deeper shades. So I also wanted to give myself some easier shades to work on. So I decided to franken some shadows out of it. So this is what it looked like when I first frankened it, and that is kind of like my initial starting point. So I have been using this palette quite a lot. I absolutely love it. I love the franken shades that I made, and in combination with the darker shades, it's almost like, well, it is an all matte palette now, which has been working really nicely with that BYOP, because that is majority singles. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. And this is what it looked like at the first update. So you can see kind of like the progress I was able to make. My main focus at that point was just to get some use out of it overall, but to focus a lot on the shade Sienna, which I was very close to finish last year, but I wanted to get it out early in the year. And yeah, other than that, just kind of keep working on it. This is what it looked like at the second update, and as you can see, I had been able to finish up Sienna, so that was the first finished shade this year. And I was also able to hit pan on a couple of the franken shades, and just again get some good use out of it overall. And in the past month, I didn't really have any focus shades or anything like that. I just wanted to again reach for the palette as a whole. I think because we are early in the year, I just want to reach for what I feel like rather than like setting very specific goals. And yeah, I think I'm doing pretty well with it that way. And this is what it looks like today. So I'm hoping you can see some big differences. I can definitely see it on a couple of shades, and I'm very excited to share with you the progress for this palette. I have been using the franken shades quite a lot, especially again a handful of them, and I've also been dipping into the deeper shades again, which I didn't do much in the earlier months in the year because I wasn't feeling these really deep shades. But yeah, that is the palette now. Again, overview right here, and I have the comparison pictures on the side so you can see what it looks like last month compared to this month. But let me talk you through all of the shades. So the first shade in the palette is the shade Tempera, but it is a franken shade now, which is a mix between Orange Soda and then Dusty Rose, which I think is that one. Yep. So those two make this beautiful like transition shade. It's very nice, slightly warm toned. I really like it. And that one I had already hit pan on. It is more of a warmer toned transition shade, so I hadn't been focusing on it that much in the past month, is because I've been focusing on these more cooler tone shades. So I only reached for it once, and that shade now sits at 10 uses total in the project. Moving on though, we have another franken shade. This is a bit mix between Mulberry right here mixed with a cream shadow, which is in my BYOP, and that one is one that I have focused a bit more on in the past month. Again, I already had pan on it last month, but I have used this one 4 additional times now for a total of 11 uses. So a little bit more. It's definitely more of a kind of springy, wintry type of tone. It's a bit more of a rosier undertone, which is why I've been focused on this one a little bit more than that shade right there. Then we have Orange Soda, which I actually haven't used at all. I only reached for it once in the project so far, which was the first month. But yeah, I'm saving this one a bit more until summer and the warmer months, even summer and autumn. I feel like I want to reach for these warmer shades a lot more, so that's why I'm waiting with that shade for now. But I don't think I'm going to have any issues finishing it. I also am considering making more of this Franken shade right here out of these two, because I really do like that shade quite a lot, and I think it would be an easy way to finish up both Orange Soda and Dusty Rose. Then, as you can see next to that, we have another Franken shade. A lot of Franken shades here in the beginning, but this one has amazing progress. And this is the mix between Cypress Umber right here, this deep brown, and the NYX Cream Shadow. So this one I reached for 3 times the first month, and then I didn't reach for it at all, but I did hit pan after those 3 uses. So I had a tiny pan on it last month, and again I was sitting at 3 uses, and in the past month I have reached for this one 32 times, which is very, very high. And as you can see, the pan has expanded quite a lot, and the reason why I reached for it so much is because this is my new brow shade. I was panning an eyeshadow in my rolling parade pan, which I used in my brows, but I have finished that one up now. If you haven't seen my rolling parade pan, make sure to check it out. It's a really fun project, and I finally finished up my Burberry Rosewood eyeshadow, so I needed to find a new brow shade to use, and I have moved over to that one. It works really nicely. It is the one I had in my brows today. It's what I use in my brows basically every single day now, which is why it has such a high use. Also, if I use it on my eyes and in my brows, I count that as 2 uses. Whatever I do, like, you know, a face use and then an eye use, I count this as 2 uses, and that is what I always done. But if I use it, for example, in 2 different ways on my eyes, like in my crease and lower lash line, for example, I count that as 1 still, but like one area of my face, I count that as like separate uses. That's what I've done, but that's why I was able to get more than 30 uses or 31 uses. And again, sitting at 32 with that one. Really happy, and I definitely think I will be able to finish that shade in the next month. And I do think I will Franken some more of it, because I think again it's going to be a really good way to get use out of Cypress Umber, which is a shade that I don't reach for very often right now, because I am not into these really deep shades, even though today I went quite smoky with my eye look. But in the everyday, I rarely reach for these like deeper shades in this side of the palette much anymore. So that shade there, I will have a goal on to finish next month, and again I will do another Franken if that's the case. We'll see, like it depends. If I finish it just before the next update, I might wait until next update is filmed. Otherwise, you know, I might Franken it in one of these other pans, well, one of these empty pans, just to see, so we can see like the empty pan compared to the new one. We'll see, but yeah, really happy with the progress for that shade. And I don't know if I said yet, but that has 35 uses total. Then we have 2 empty pans right here, which I had nothing in, so those ones we're going to skip over. And then at the end here we have Mulberry. And Mulberry, I had reached for twice early in the year, and I reached for it 1 additional time in the past month, and actually in this look today. So that's the only time I reached for it all month. I'm reaching for it in like my outer corner, blending into my crease today. Yeah, I really do like this shade, but it's again more kind of autumnal for me, and also I've been reaching for these super deep shades. I could start using it as like a liner and stuff like that, but again, I would probably rather reach for the black in that case, because if I do want to have a liner, I do want it quite intense. So we'll see what I do with this one. I have used this shade for a couple of Frankens, so I might continue doing that. And otherwise I'm gonna have to do a lot more smokier looks later in the year, which I tend to do anyway, but yeah, very slow progress on that one, and of course I'm sitting at 3 uses right now. And by the way, when I say total uses, I mean from this year. I do also have all of the uses tracked from previous years, so I can maybe go over them too for like the original shades, which is first up Orange Soda. I reached for that one 82 times the last year, and once this year for a total 83. Then next to that again we have Mulberry, which is the next original shade, and I have reached for that one 32 times in 2024. With 3 additional uses right now, sitting at 35 uses total, just if I wanted to share that too. Moving on to the second row of the palette, we do have another original shade to the palette, which is Dusty Rose. And again, I have used that one in Franken, but this is kind of where it's sitting now. And I have used this one quite a lot this year. However, in the past month, I did not reach for it at all. I reached for it a lot in the second update. I reached for it 7 times then, for a total of 8 this year. But I didn't feel like the shade this past month. I've been feeling a bit more kind of like camel tone, stuff like that, like a slightly warmer and not these like super cool tone shades. So no uses there. And I used this one 42 times in 2024, which means that I'm sitting at 50 uses exactly tracked. Another shade that I did not reach for in the past month is this shade right here. So this one is a mix between mulberry, again that shade here, and a white, and it made more of a purpley undertone shade. And this one is definitely the Franken that I have reached for the least, and it's the only one of the Frankens that I don't have pan on yet, and I only reached for that one once in the whole project, so not very good. I probably will try to hit pan on that one in the next month. I think that's going to be like the second goal for this palette, so we'll see how I get on, but no uses in the past month. But then next to that we have a shade that I really love and have been using quite a lot, and that is this shade here. So this is another Franken, of course, and it is a mix between Rustic and that same cream shade that I mentioned earlier, and that one has been beautiful to reach for. It's been a really nice, very neutral camel tone type of brown. It does not lean cool tone, it does not lean warm tone. It's just a really perfect in the middle kind of neutral brown, and I really love that shade. I have been falling in love with this shade, and I will definitely Franken more of this one when I finish this shadow, because I think it's such an easy one to reach for, and I haven't again been leaning to these really warm tone shades this year, so this one is like the happy medium for me. So I've been really enjoying this shade. And I had actually only reached for it once early in the year. I reached for it once in the first month I made this shadow. But in the past month, as you can see, I was able to hit pan on it and continue expanding that pan. And I reached for it 13 additional times for a total of 14 uses. And I was able to reach pan on it after 9 uses in the project. So the pan now is pretty big, and I'm really happy with that. Again, it's been a beautiful shade to reach for, and I have really been enjoying it. Then again, we had Sienna, which I finished up in the second update. So we're going to skip over that one. It took me 162 uses total to finish that one up. But then here we have the shade Rustic. The rest of these shades, by the way, are original to the palette, but Rustic right here is a shadow that I have reached for a little bit in the past month. I reached for it 4 additional times for a total of 7 in the year, so a bit more of a slow moving shade, but you're going to see that a lot with these deeper shades like I mentioned. So 4 additional uses, and total for this project, or not this project but last year as well, I reached for it 47 times last year. Which means that I'm now sitting at 54 uses with that shade in total tracked with this palette. Then we have Cypress Umber, which is one that I haven't reached for very much either. I only reached for it 1 time with the past month for a total of 4 in the year. And the rolled over usage for that one is 40, which means I have 44 uses tracked for that shade. And I'm a little bit worried because that one has quite a lot of product left in it. But again, if I keep using this one to Franken, like that brow shade, I think I'm going to be able to get through it. Maybe not like fully that way, but I will be able to get through it quicker at least. So I'm really glad that I found a way to get use out of this one, just not like using it as like a really dark deepening up shade. So I'm pleased with that. Then lastly, we have the black in the palette, which is Noir, and I don't know if you can see if the dip has gotten any bigger. I hope it has a little bit, because I have reached for this one a couple of times. I reached for it 4 times in the past month for a total of 7 uses in the year. Yeah, it's just not my favorite shade. I think I have decided as well that I might not want to finish that shade up completely. If I finish everything else in the palette and just have that black left, I won't be like mad leaving that. I probably want to hit pan on it though this year. That would be probably my goal for that black, but we'll see how I get on. And with that one, I have 21 uses from 2024, which means that I have 28 uses tracked for that shade. So that is this palette right here, the first half of my Panda palette. I'm really happy with how this one is looking. And I already mentioned some of my goals. I will have 2 goals, I think, for this palette next month. And that will be to finish up this shade here, the Franken shade, and then hit pan on this Franken shade. That's going to be my goal. And then with everything else, I'm going to just try to use as much as I can. And I will talk through the weight of that palette, but I will do that in a second. I'm going to go on to this palette here first, which is my BYOP. So again, I'm going to roll the footage of what this one looks like. So as you can see, it has a lot of really beautiful shades in it. It is a palette that I put together myself, again, with shades that I wanted to finish up because either they're dupes in my collection, I have better versions of them, or just because I really do enjoy those type of shades. So this is what it looked like after frankening. So like I mentioned, I used some of that beige shade in Franken, like in anytime I mention like a beige shade for my BYOP, that is the bottom right shade of those bigger pans. So that's the only difference, but otherwise this is what it looked like after the first update. So you can see I was able to hit pan on the center shade and also just use this one quite a bit overall. I believe that was the only shade I hit pan on in the first update, but yeah, I got a lot of use out of this palette over, like in general. It's been a really fun one, like I said. And this is what it looked like after 2 months of use. So this is last update. I was able to hit pan on a couple more shades, and overall just kind of expand pans, use this palette as I want. These shades are quite big because they are just single shadows, so they contain quite a lot of eyeshadow, so I'm not expecting them to move very quickly, especially initially until I wear them down. But I am happy with any progress that I'm making in this palette. And this is what it looks like today, so hopefully you can see that there is a few differences for sure. I'm really happy with how it's looking. I will of course talk you through the changes more in details in a second, but I hope you can spot some of them here. Alright, so this is the palette again. I'm going to show you the overview and then we're going to go through each shade again in order. So first up in the palette we have this shade which comes from Terra Moons. This is the shade Cinnamon Sugar, and that one already had pan on it when I first introduced it, but I've been trying to, like, you know, wear that pan down and hopefully expand it a little bit. I don't know if you can see any difference, but I hope you can see that it's expanded a little bit. And that one I used 2 additional times in the past month for a total of 7 in the project so far. A shadow that I've used quite a lot and I hit pan on last update is the next shade, which is from Glam Shop. It's called Pyłkuskowy, I think, something like that. I know that is in Polish and I know it's like really hard for me to pronounce, but yeah, I hope I'm not butchering it. I think someone told me how to pronounce it, but I can't remember now. But I'm trying my best. I think it's Moon Dust or something like that. Anyway, that one I have reached for a couple more times. I reached for it 8 additional times in the past month, so I'm hoping that the pan has expanded a little bit. That is definitely one of the shades that is quite flat in here, which of course I'm excited to see. And that shade now has 34 uses total in the project. We are moving on to the last big circle shade on the first row, which is this one here. This one comes from Pastel Roses, and that is the shade Bismuth. This one I actually was able to pan on in the past month, as you might be able to see. So I reached for this one at 12 additional times for a total of 25 uses in the project, and I was able to pan on that 25th use. Yeah, I definitely won this one down quite evenly. I have reached for this one a lot as a nail polish, which is why I think it's taken a few more uses to pan on it, but I'm also excited because it does mean that the pan has dipped down all over quite a lot, so I'm excited again to see that. And it's a really fun shade. It looks very kind of pink to you, but when I look at it, it looks very blue. It also has like a green shift, a gold, orange, going to that pink, so it's very, very dimensional shade, and again it's been very fun to reach for that one. Moving on, we have this shade next, which is another one from Glam Shop. This is shade Bombawi, and this one I have reached for 5 additional times in the past month for a total of 9 in the project, and I'm hoping the pan has expanded a little bit. It's definitely one that I think I'm going to reach for more kind of in the coming months because it is more of a warmer tone shades. It goes from pink to gold, but yeah, we'll see. For now I'm sitting again at 9 uses for this shade. For the center shade here, I hit pan on in the first month, and I've been slowing down with this one for sure since then. I had reached for it 19 times the first month, 2 times the second month, and this past month I only reached for it once, so again not the best, but I do have a total of 22 uses on that one in the project so far. And then next to that we have the first shade in the palette that I have not reached for at all in the past month. This is the shade Laser, and I reached for that one once the first month, once the second month, and nothing this past month for a total of 2 uses in the project. I absolutely love this shade, but I just have not been gravitating towards it. I think I've been just planning too many things, but I'll definitely try to get some more use out of that one next month. It's definitely one that I'm going to have a goal on, just a little sneak peek there, but I will try to get some use out of that one next month. And then moving on to the last row for the big shades, we have this one next, which is also from Glam Shop. This is the shade Vegas Biz, and that one I have reached for 3 times in the past month. It's definitely more of a kind of cool tone shade, but it looks quite deep in the pan. It has like a deep brown base and that bluey purple shift, but it can be sheared out quite a lot, which is really lovely because you can wear it more impactful but also sheared out if you want. And that one I have reached for 3 additional times, like I said, for a total of 5, so pretty good, okay, like not my best shade for sure, but I'm happy with that it's moving along. Another really slow shade, because it has exact same uses as Laser, is this one right here. This is the shade Starburst, again from the Pastel Roses, and I reached for that one twice, again once the first month, once the second month, so yeah, not too much. Didn't reach for it at all in the month of March, but I will try to reach for that one more again. I think it's going to be a beautiful summer shade. I'm going to reach for it loads and loads in summer and autumn, so I'm not too worried about it for now. And then lastly, for these big round singles, we have this shade right here. This one comes from NYX, and that is that the Potted Cream beige kind of shade that I talked about earlier. So I already had pan on this one. I had pan on it after 24 uses, which was last month. And I will definitely continue reaching for that one, because I have reached for it 18 additional times in the past month. It's a really, really easy shade to incorporate, because it's good to blend out shades if I take them too far up, for example. And that's mainly how I use it. I don't really use it to set my eyeshadow primer. It's not something that I do, but I have reached for it again a lot, just cleaning up my eye looks, and I have reached for that one 18 additional times for a total of 44 in the project. So that is that shade right there. Then lastly, we have these three Colourpop singles on the side. We are starting off with the top shade, which is Kaleidoscope, originally from the Dream Street palette. That one I have reached for 8 additional times in the past month, not as much as the previous months, but I'm still happy with it. So 8 additional uses, and I was sitting at 25 previously, so I now have 33 uses on that shade. Then below that we have another new pan in the palette. That is this shade right here called Prima Drama. This was originally from the Sweet Talk palette, which I actually still have in my collection, but I have taken out all of the pressed glitters from that shade. It's 2. I just put them into my singles, replace them with the similar shades, but like in actual shimmer shadows. But this one I wanted to pan on in the past month, and I'm happy to say that I was able to do that. It took me 4 uses to pan on it, and then I used for 2 additional times for a total of 6, and that is what it's sitting at right now. Definitely quite a big pan. Pressed glitters go quite quickly when you start using them, so I'm not surprised that I was able to make progress quite quickly on that shade. And then lastly we have that shade right there, which is the shade Champs, which I think was originally from the Yes Please palette. It's a very old shadow, but that one already had pan on it, and I had reached for it 5 times previously in this project, and in the past month I only reached for it 1 additional times for a total of 6. So again, not the best, but I think it's definitely going to be a shade that I reach for more in summer. I also might use it to franken some more shades in my other Panda palette whenever I want to do a refranken session again, because I think that would be good to lighten up some of those deeper shades. But that is this palette right here. I'm really happy with it. Again, you can see the overview. I do think I'm getting some good progress on these shades. But again, I'm going to talk you through the goals. So for this palette, I do have 2 goals as well that I have. I do want to reach for the shades in general. I think an unofficial goal is going to be to focus on Bowie. I really love that shade. But I do have 2 official goals too. And that is going to be to pan on the last remaining 2 shadows. So that would be first up Laser right here, and then also Vegas Bliss, both from Glam Shop. I want to hit pan on both of those remaining shades so that I have pan on every single shadow in here. So those are going to be my goals for these 2 palettes. So 2 goals per palette, which means 4 goals in total. I think I can do it. I hope I can at least. But lastly, well, speaking of goals actually as well, we're going to talk about weights for these 2 palettes, because my last month's goal was just to hit my weight goals for last month. So I'm going to talk you through how much weight each of those 2 palettes lost. So first up we have my Anastasia Soft Glam palette. So just to give you a little bit of a recap, this palette at the introduction in 2024 weighed 162.70 grams, and at the end of the year it weighed, well, at the beginning of this year it weighed 156.09 grams, and since it has 10.36 grams of advertised weight, I had a remaining amount to use, which was 3.75. That's discounting everything that I used in 2024. And in order to hit that goal, I would have to reach for 0.31 grams per month in order to be on track. So that was my goal for that palette in the past month. In the month of January, I reached for 0.36 grams for this palette. In February, I reached for 0.10 grams, definitely less. That was my weight in February. And since that was last month, my weight at that point was 156.02 grams. So that was where I was sitting then. Today, the palette weighs 155.91 grams, which means I was able to use up 0.11 grams, which is really not what I expected. I expected to move way more. I feel like I've used this palette quite a lot, obviously not every day, but I have reached for it a lot. And I think we're hitting that problem of like the palette just stagnating in weight, especially because I'm just reaching for it. This is like a felt packaging, so I feel like this one holds moisture quite a lot. And I think as we go into the warmer months, it gets more humid, and I think this one keeps weight. That is my theory, because I definitely think I reached for more than like 1/10 of a gram in the past month, especially looking at like how much the progress is and comparing that to January, which I had 36, or well, 0.36 grams of use. But I'm still okay with it. I'm happy with it. I'm just happy that I got some use out of it, even though I didn't hit my weight goal for the month. So let's move on to the BYOP. I don't have like an advertised weight or anything for this palette, so I'm just going to talk about my intro weight, which originally was 155.73 grams. However, I did use 0.49 grams in the Franken for my Panda palette, which, well, for the soft glam palette, which means that it started at 155.24 grams. In January, I was able to use 0.66 grams, which I was really pleased with. In February, I reached for 0.55 grams, so again, pretty high, so, you know, slightly over half a gram. And at that point, again, that was last month, the palette weighed 154.03 grams, so that was, again, a month ago. And today, the palette weighs 153.50 grams exactly, which means that I was able to reach for 0.53 grams, which is very similar to my February numbers. It's just over, again, half a gram, and I'm honestly really happy with that. I think half a gram out of a palette is great in a month. Looking again at these shadows, I think a lot of shadows have like a gram of advertised weight. I don't know if these all do. That's the problem, like I don't know how much these are. But some of them already have used, but if I use half a gram per month, that would mean that I was able to finish up completely 6 of these shades. But, you know, again, I would ideally maybe want it a little bit higher. And in order to be on track for my goal, I would have had to reach for 0.69 grams in order to hit that goal weight, because my goal in overall is to hit 1 gram combined weight between these two, and taking away the 0.31 goal for this one, the goal was 0.69 for this. So again, didn't quite hit my goal, but I'm really pleased with that either way, and I do think I have some really good visible progress on both of these palettes. But there you guys, is going to be it for my Panda palette update. I really hope you enjoyed it. I am super proud of the progress that I was able to make on these palettes, and I'm going to continue trucking along with them and see how far I can get this year. Of course, I do want to finish up as many shades as I can, but my main goal is to finish up the soft glam palette. I definitely want that one out by the end of the year. No matter what kind of looks I have to do at the end of the year, I do want that palette out, minus the black. Again, I'm fine with not finishing the black, but everything else I do want to finish. So I'm going to continue doing it, working on it. Let me know if you think I'm going to be able to do it or not. I hope I can, otherwise I'm going to be quite sad. But I also am having a baby in a couple of months, so who knows how I'm going to wear makeup in the second half of the year. But I will still try. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!